Hello, dear aspirants. Welcome back to the next episode of Economy Weekly Current Affairs. Today, we are going to look at certain topics. The first topic is about scheduled bank status for payment bank. You would know what a payment bank is. There are certain differences between a normal commercial bank and a payment bank. Payment bank is a differentiated bank which is given as a special kind of license for certain payment operators or financial operators. Let's not go into the details of payment banks. Why is this very important, or what is this status, scheduled bank status that has been given for payment banks? You would know that the common payment banks that we know as the Paytm payment banks, the Airtel payment banks, Finotech payment banks, these are some payment banks that we know of. So recently, in the early days of December, payment bank or Paytm payment banks was given the upgrade of a scheduled bank. Right now, Airtel has also received the scheduled bank status. What is the difference, or what is the benefit that they're going to achieve because of this scheduled bank status? You would know that we usually call the commercial banks as scheduled commercial banks. The reason why we call these commercial banks a scheduled commercial bank is that because in the RBI Act of 1935, there is a schedule called as the second schedule. This schedule enlists all the banks which will be directly brought under the supervision of the RBI. So these are the scheduled banks. Likewise, Paytm banks have also, the payment banks have received an upgrade called as scheduled banks, which means they will also now be listed in the schedules of the RBI. So what is the obvious benefit out of it? Because once you get the status upgrade, there needs to be some benefit. So the benefits obviously is that, one, they can participate as banks in the primary auctions, that is in the open market operations. They can come and participate. They can receive the fixed rate and variable rate which is applicable for banks. They will also be eligible for reverse repos, along with participation in the marginal standing facility. Right? So MSF rate is a bank only rate. MSF rate is only for scheduled commercial banks. Payment banks will now be eligible to receive funding under the marginal standing facility rate, which is an overnight rate whereby any liquidity shortages can be met. Likewise, there is another rate which is the key interest rate, which was once the key interest rate, that is the bank rate. This is also again a special privilege of only the banks. So what is a bank rate? It is called as a rediscount rate of the RBI, which is the rate at which the RBI is going to discount the bills that a particular bank is having when it comes and gives it to the RBI in order to receive certain funds. It's like selling off the bonds or the securities at a rate which will be discounted by the RBI. So this is the bank rate. So right now, payment banks were only eligible for liquidity adjustment facility, but now onwards they will be eligible for both the marginal standing facility as well as the bank rate. Okay. So, but it does not change the meaning of the payment bank. Understand that just because it has become a scheduled bank, it is not a scheduled commercial bank. It is not given a special license for it. It will continue to operate as a payment bank, which is obviously a payment bank has other limitations. For example, it cannot lend or issue credit cards on its own. So these restrictions prevail till now. Clear? So right now, after Paytm, this is Paytm. So after Paytm, India Post Banks, Fino Payment Banks and Airtel Payment Bank have received this status upgrade, which is the scheduled bank status. The second topic that we are going to deal with is regarding the FSSI draft regulation on GM crops. So there is an article in the Financial Express which talks about a group of association, an association of oil extractors who are seeking exemption of GM food labeling for soybean oil or soybean oil. So this has to be seen in the context of the FSSAI draft regulation on GM crop. What is this regulation? For example, this particular regulation has been notified by the FSSAI, which has proposed that all food products which are having individual genetic engineered ingredients at least 1% or more. So any GM ingredient which is taking up 1% or more, 1% or more, if you have a food product which is like that, then it has to be labeled as a GM product. Clear? So it has to be labeled as GM product. So why is this issue about this oil is that we know that we are a big importer of edible oil. India's edible oil is imported from abroad, especially palm oil and soybean oil. When it comes to soybeans, for the sake of import, we also import GM soybean. We import genetically modified soybean. So this genetically modified soybeans are obviously going to be converted or extracted as oil. But here, the reason that the solvent extractors are giving is that once we import GM soy, we can sometimes take both the normal soybean as well as the GM based soybean and we put together and then convert them as oil. Once the GM food is converted as oil, the oil per se does not have any GM related ingredients. So how are we to label the particular oil as GM oil? So we need an exemption for soybean oil because soybean oil itself is not a GM food. Though its origin, that is the soybean, can sometimes be GM, the oil is not to be considered as a GM oil. Okay, so this is their argument because there is no difference between the soybean oil of the two origin, that is the normal soybean and the GM soybean. For the consumers, the trade, the quality, the content of the oil, everything remains the same. And therefore, once we have this labeling norm, it can lead to some kind of panic among the consumers that GM oil is not a good oil, and therefore they would resort to other oil, and it could make the oil prices a little bit high. And also, this FSSAI regulation has been there. It has given this draft. Understand, this is a draft regulation, which means it is still out there in the public. It has been inviting certain stakeholder opinions. So anti-GMO activists are asking for more bigger timeline so that they can put forth their reservations regarding this particular draft guidelines. You could understand that GM crops, the approval of GM crops is not related to FSSAI. FSSAI is just a safety standard organization. So in case of GM, in case of genetically modified crops, we need the approval of the GEAC. So Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is the apex body which has to give certain approval for the commercial use of GM crops. Even though they have been granted approval, if it is being manufactured as a food grade product, then FSSAI has been mandating that it should label them as GM crops. Clear? So there are certain things yet to be seen. So once the picture gets clear, we will look at a little bit more on this draft regulations. Third topic that we are going to discuss is related to the RBI small offline payments. Small offline payment. We do know that when we talk about digital payment, it all needs a network, it needs internet, it needs SMS services, all of that for the transaction to be completed. For small value transactions, the RBI has been piloting a program called as a small offline payment. So what is this small offline payment? For example, it is unveiled in framework. So what under this, it does not require any internet or telecom connectivity. You don't even need a mobile phone for this. Offline payment can be made face to face only, which is only when you reach the particular buyer or a seller, this offline transaction, small offline transactions can take place. So how to enable this particular offline payment, for which we need payment instruments needs to be there, banks need to come on board, participants need to be there, operators need to be there. So all of this will happen. And if we are to use offline based payment, the explicit consent of the customer is needed. And also it will not require an additional factor of authentication, because the very idea is not to have internet connection and telecom connectivity. So there is no point in having extra factor of authentication, for example, like the OTP based verification. So no OTP, no SMS, nothing will be required. But remember, these are small offline payments, which means the maximum or the upper limit of a single transaction will be rupees 200, and per person it will be only 2000 rupee at the maximum at any point of time under this pilot program. So if there is any fraud related to this offline payment, they will be covered, or the grievance will be heard under the integrated ombudsman scheme. So these are certain highlights of this framework that the RBI has unveiled for small value digital payments, and it is mainly targeted at rural and semi-urban cities. Clear? Coming to the next topic. The next topic talks about 6 ODOP Pro brands which was recently launched under the PMFME scheme. So what is this PMFME scheme? This is a Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan scheme launched in the year 2020 during the lockdown as a central sector scheme, which is, I think it is a central sponsored scheme. It is not a central sector, it is a central sponsored scheme. This will aim at micro enterprises. It will promote the formalization, especially among the women self-help groups, the farmer produce organization cooperatives. They have to be incentivized under this program. So formalization of micro food processing enterprises scheme. This is the PMFME, which is a cluster based approach. Under this scheme, we have a sub-component called as one district, one product brand. What is this one district, one product brand? So under this program, we will brand a particular product, and we will promote a brand or a product from each district of India specific to that particular region or that native. And it has to be enabled, it has to be commercialized so that employment generation is happening. So one district, one product will be given focus, and they will be integrated into the value chains so that it is able to create both trade related employment and also supplement farmers' income. This is also already being implemented in the form of districts as an export hub initiative. Right? The Director General of Foreign Trade had already implemented a scheme called as a districts as an export hub scheme. Based on this only, we have converted this particular scheme as this one district, one product. So let us do a critical analysis and understand the various dimensions of this particular scheme. So global experience, India is not the first one to experiment with this scheme. There has been global experiences to rely on. For example, it was first initiated by Japan in the 1960s, and in 1979 it was rechristened as one village, one product. It was rechristened as one village and one product scheme. So under this scheme, the idea is very clear. You have to think locally but act globally, which is the mantra of our Atmanirbhar Bharat. To be self-reliant and creative through the capacity building of human resources. After this model was successful in arresting rural migration, many of the countries also decided to implement this scheme and replicate this scheme, and it has been across various countries in different names. For example, one commune, one product in Vietnam, one island, one product in Oceania, our village, our pride scheme in Afghanistan. So there has been many such schemes similar to each other which have been operationalized, and they have been a success in some places, not a huge success in some other places. What we should do? What are the problems of this one district, one product? So one, the stakeholders, irrespective of the sector along the value chain, understand that if there is a one product that is going to be given focus, there are a lot of players who are going to be involved: the manufacturers of seed, the manufacturers fertilizers, the people who are going to involve in marketing, grading, all this kind of people are stakeholders are there. Whoever it is in the value chain, they need to be identified and provided information and awareness. Many of the people do not even know that such a scheme is being operated in India. Second, we have to streamline other initiatives similar to this. For example, the GI, Geographical Indication Scheme. So under the GI tag, what we promote certain products which is unique to a particular locality or a region. So isn't that similar to one district, one program? Obviously. And there are other schemes like the FPO scheme, cluster development scheme, handloom schemes. All of them which have a similar objective have to be synergized together. Only when we recognize these synergies, we will be able to bring them under one umbrella and realize the ownership potential, which is this particular scheme is not to be brought down as a scheme by the government. It should have a sense of ownership among the people, among the stakeholders, among the micro institutions. Clear? Already overlap of GI is there. For example, in one particular city, in a particular area, there are a lot of GI, geographical indications. This GI is not able to, GI based products are not fully integrated with the value chains, isn't it? So brand building has not happened. So we should be focusing on that aspect. The APEDA, that is the apex body for agriculture promotion and export trade, has to be integrated along with the one district, one program and GI. Technology is extremely important, because only when people are empowered, the farmers are empowered to understand what the technology, to understand what kind of market channels are there, they will be able to overcome the asymmetries that are present in the information market. And finally, we have to comply with the sanitary and phytosanitary conditions so as to realize the export potential of these products. Clear? So there has been many schemes are there which have been, many of the products have been identified under the one district, one product. Recently also, why we are seeing this in the news is that 6 of the products have been launched as a separate brand under this particular scheme. For example, the Amrit Fal, which is an amla juice, right? A gooseberry juice. Kori Gold is related to coriander. Kashmiri Mantra, Somdana, whole wheat cookies of the Delhi Bakes. So these are some products which have been identified. Likewise, there has been nearly 707 districts and products which have been identified throughout India. Finally, we are going to see a critical analysis of an important scheme called as the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. This has been in the news on the 3rd of January. A very interesting article which talks about how we have to spruce up this program and improve the elements of this Yojana. So what is this particular Yojana about? Let us see. Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. What is this scheme about? This is a maternity benefit program implemented across the districts of India in accordance to the National Food Security Act, which is the National Food Security Act gives certain entitlement to mothers, especially lactating and pregnant mothers. So in lieu of this particular act, the scheme has been launched, and the objective of the scheme is to provide partial compensation for the wage loss that could occur so that the women can take adequate rest before and after delivery. Second, the cash incentive provided would lead to better health and better behavior among the pregnant and lactating mothers. So one, we have to make behavioral changes. Second, we need to compensate for any wage loss. So that is why in this particular scheme, we give rupees 5,000 as a cash incentive split into three. First will be 1,000 upon successful reporting or registration of the child, of the pregnancy, Second will be again 2,000 6 months after pregnancy, and the third will be after the birth. That is again 2,000 rupee will be given. So this is a particular idea. These are all conditional transfers. Conditional transfers in the sense, only if it is registered with the government of India or with the hospitals of the government, you will be given 1,000 rupee. Okay, so who are eligible under the scheme? Not all are eligible, only those who are not getting any such benefits, maternity benefits, will be given this particular scheme. Clear? So the article writes about the present status of this particular scheme and also writes how certain other state schemes are there which should supplement this program. So till now, 4 years have been passed. Since 2015 we have this scheme. 2 crore beneficiaries have availed the cash incentive out of this program. But in 2017, that is the first year of its inclusion, out of 128 lakh beneficiaries, only 51 lakh women were actually given benefits under this particular scheme, which is amounting to nearly 60% of exclusion. So this leads to a great exclusion error. Second, declining disbursements over the year. The article highlights that over the years, instead of increasing the coverage, the number of people or the beneficiaries who have been covered under this Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana have come down. And also not all have received 5,000 rupee. Many have been reporting that they have received only partial amounts. Overall budgetary allocation has also come down. That is, the entire budget for women and child development have dropped by 20%, which is an overall challenge not only in this particular scheme but for the overall women and child development. And also it highlights that the Samarthya scheme, which is an umbrella scheme of the women and child development, which subsumed other schemes such as the ICDS schemes and other maternal benefit schemes, have also been given adequate focus, due to which the other schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana have not been given due importance. So having an umbrella program takes away the spotlight from other schemes. So this is a concern. He also talks about how there are certain other state schemes. State also have their own schemes. For example, there is a scheme called as Mamata of the Odisha scheme, the KCR kit of Telangana, and Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy scheme of Tamil Nadu. So these are some examples which are also increasing the coverage. For example, last year, Mamata alone, the Mamata scheme, increased the coverage by 50%, while the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana has come down. So this is something that we could learn from this particular scheme. So what is the way forward? He writes certain things which could be used in your mains answer writing as well. So he discusses that one of the biggest disadvantage of the scheme is that it is only applicable for the first birth. It is not for the second live birth, but this has to be included, especially for the organized sector women. Women in the organized sector who are not having any social security benefits should also be given extra coverage for the second live birth also, in addition to the first live birth. He also talks about increased entitlement. The amount of 5,000 rupee is not necessary, is not going to compensate them adequately. For example, the Maternity Benefits Act gives a leave of 12 weeks. Even if we are to compensate women for this 12 weeks at rupees 200 per day, taking the 202 per day of the Manrega, at least 15,000 needs to be given to women. So we need to increase, because despite giving entitlement, the reason why many women, pregnant women, come to work is because they fear job loss. Second, high out-of-pocket expenditure, because they don't have coverage to insurance, they need to spend out of their own. So you have to cover it. If dual compensation has to be given, in entitlements has to increase. Thirdly, the process level challenges, the implementation level challenges, especially in this particular scheme, has to be simplified, because for the registration of beneficiaries, you need 4 documents for a woman. You need the pregnancy certificate, you need a certificate that you are employed in somewhere. All these kind of things are becoming a burden for many of the women, due to which exclusion errors are there. So we have to simplify the process, and also other schemes like the Poshan Abhiyan and an overarching national maternity benefit scheme has to be implemented in such a way that it supplements this particular scheme. So this is the way forward of this particular scheme. That's it for today. We'll see in the next class with yet another video. Thank you. Have a nice day.